All right, let's go ahead and get started. What's going on? We are live. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the Forex market, throughout the full. Let's try to help again. Okay. Good morning. This is Trade with Travis on YouTube. This is Carter Trading on Facebook. Hope everybody's doing very well. Over here at Carter Capital, we help you fight for your financial freedom throughout the Forex market. I hope everybody's doing very well. Let's go ahead and go through the disclaimer. Then after that, let's go ahead and take a look at some overall trading pairs and be able to go from there. So we're not a CPA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision about what you want to be able to do for Forex trading. Now, understand that Forex involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, not promise that you're going to end up making money today. So get ready to show myself on the screen. I can see myself on YouTube, and I can see myself now on Facebook. So I hope everybody's doing very well. Hopefully you end up having a great day for us trading yesterday. Yesterday was one of those days to where we kind of took a step back, and we knew that it was going to end up being light trading volume. So we knew that trades had to prove itself for going to the downside. So we did not take necessarily. I didn't take a trade at all. Aside from being able to work on demo and trying to figure out a little bit more about the NASDAQ 100, in which we'll get into at some point in time, being able to talk about what that is, how you could be able to trade it, and be able to go from there. But like always, let's go ahead and go through our overall trade mechanics, and then after that, let's go ahead and look and see if there's any type of overall trading pair that we can get into. Henry, thank you for the like. Now, do me a favor before we get started. In a way to be able to make sure that I'm promoting this and pushing this out to everyone, so everyone can be able to get an opportunity to be able to view this. If you would, once you end up getting this video, if you would share it to your overall page and be able to like it and send it out to someone else that you think that may end up being interested in being able to watch this. I'm really getting to a point to where obviously being able to push out this content is going to end up being a way where it possibly could be able to drive income to what we're doing for us, our overall way of being able to do research and development and everything else like that. So any like, any view helps when it comes down to being able to do that, so I can be able to give you very good quality content. So would help me out when it comes down to that. I do appreciate that as we go through. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on today. Today is more of a trader's day, and what I mean by trader's day, I do expect that we're going to see light volume. It is the second to last day before the end of the month, so that means that typically we're not going to see all of that much. Typically, the first week of the month is the most impactful week, but we're going into half of that week, and remember, on Friday, we're going to have non-farm payrolls. So it's not going to be as super explosive as it typically was, kind of like what happened last month when it came down to movement, but it will be some overall movement overall. We're going to look at, in 53 minutes, we're going to end up seeing the index of consumer prices for Germany. That is suspected to be at 0.1. After that, we're going to end up having Governor Bailey end up speaking. Typically, he's going to end up talking about stuff that's going on with Brexit and what's going on with the overall bank and where they're at when it comes down to what's going on with their overall with rates and everything else like that. From there, a little bit later on today, we're going to end up seeing a presidential debate. And keep this in mind: anything presidential, anything that is said throughout that overall time is going to really rock the market. So we have to be aware about that when it comes down to overall movement. That was one of the reasons why I wasn't necessarily interested in being able to trade yesterday, because I want to see what's going to happen with the direction of the market today. And I'm almost for certain that I probably won't trade today unless there's going to end up being a certain opportunity that ends up just showing itself and being able to get into the market. So you have to keep that in mind when it comes down to all of that. Let's take a look at the currency strength chart. If you don't know what a currency strength chart is, it basically ends up telling you what's happening with the market overall, and it kind of gives you a better idea about what you should be looking for. Wish I would have turned on my systems. I did not turn on my systems. That's on me. But overall, we can see what's going on with the top two pair. The top two pair right now is the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. So they are the strongest pairs. They're over 4 when it comes down to movement. Look at the two weakest pairs currently right now is the US dollar and the Japanese yen. And honestly, that's expected going into what ended up happening over the course of the last few weeks, right? I mean, over the course of the last week. The US dollar going through a transition, and New Zealand dollar is going through a transition. So we should see, when it comes down to trades, you look at the Australian dollar versus the United States dollar and Australian dollar versus the Japanese yen, the Australian dollar should get a little bit stronger. You're looking at what's happening with the New Zealand dollar versus the Japanese yen, New Zealand dollar versus the United States dollar. You should see that it should be getting stronger for that overall move. So being able to see that is a helpful move right now when it comes down to being able to find retracement areas for this overall market. Now let's take that into what we're going to look at with the big three, because that's going to end up affecting everything that we're looking at from this current point in time. So once again, we expected that the market was going to end up having to push down. The market is in a sell zone. We got a counter trend line break. We had that movement to the downside. That was something that we were looking for overall. We wanted a little bit more of a retracement for the move, and we necessarily didn't get that. But we did want to be able to see that the Australian dollar was going to end up getting stronger. If that was going to end up happening, then that means it was going to be a healthy retracement towards the downside. Excuse me. It was going to be a healthy retracement towards the downside, and we can look at being able to buy once the market ends up giving us a very good low price. So once we get that low price, then after that, that should be able to be the strong push. Excuse me. Sorry. That should be the strong push that should allow us to be able to push bullish in the market moving forward. So this is something that is truly expected when it comes down to overall movement. And overall, if we're looking at what's happening right now, I expect that is going to end up remaining to be the same today. Give me 1 second. I forgot to be able to put the people on Instagram on. I got a message from some people on Instagram that didn't do it. So I'm actually live on Instagram right now as well. So I do apologize about that. So overall, we're looking at some overall bearish movement. Once again, I turned off my auto trading systems, which I wish I should have turned these on last night, but that's my fault. So I didn't make money while I was asleep, and all I had to do was click on a button. That's on me when it comes to that. But overall, if we're looking at what's happening moving into the future, we should see that things like oil should pop up a little bit more. So we go through, we take a look at this market, we can see that this market has started to retrace from there. Currently, the market is in an R6 zone. What that means is it's in a no trade area between the 382 and the 618. Typically, I don't like taking trades in that area until it ends up hitting the sweet spot, which is above the 618, 786, and 86. If you don't know what that means, you should have hopped in one of our bootcamp classes. If you want to be able to hop inside of one of our masterclass sessions or one of our webinar sessions, you can be able to do so, and you can be able to learn a little bit more from that end. But I do expect that this market is going to keep on rising up, and then after that, give us a high price to be able to sell down. Once we get that and we have confirmation, then this market will end up being in a good position to be able to sell. But overall, I do expect that oil is probably going to end up pushing up again today. So that's something to be able to pay attention to. Gold, if you end up taking that trade on gold, what we end up saying, we were looking for a counter trend line break to the upside and being able to push up to 1895 and 1900. Quite frankly, congratulations. We're very close to being able to hit that overall spot. Currently, right now, we're probably about another 8 points away. So if you end up taking that trade, that was a very beautiful move. Congratulations to you on that move. You should be able to see that you're going to end up bringing in a few dollars based off of that overall move and getting some income off of that. It's really not much to be able to talk about it right now. It's in the sell zone. If you are in this position, I would just go ahead and let it ride up to that overall position. It doesn't look like the U.S. dollar is going to end up being strong today. So you should see gold start to pick back up. Take that trade to where it's going to end up going, and then trade it from there. Take a look at the NASDAQ, and we just kind of take a look and see what happens with this. I'm looking at correlations, and I'm just trying to be very keen to what the correlation is. If we go back to what happened yesterday, the U.S. dollar ended up having a very weak day when it came down to the movements. The U.S. dollar ended up having a very weak day when it came down to the movements, and we were talking about how this market was going through a channel within this overall movement. What I meant by channel, I meant that this market was hitting support, hit resistance, hit a support, hit a resistance, hit a support, bounced up, hit a resistance, came back down, did not touch the support, but went back up, and then after that went to resistance. We ended up taking a short sell on this overall position. Then after that, the market ended up exploding to the upside. So we had a breakout. Now, typically, once you have a breakout, then you look for a retest. Well, we never had that retest as of yet. And at first, when I was looking at this pair, I was looking at being able to sell down, at least to try to get back into that overall position. At this particular point, that has not happened as of yet. And we're looking at the overall 2-hour forces break. We're looking at a movement to where it could go up to 11,601 towards a overall break to the upside if it remains to stay within this overall counter trend line break to the upside. So I actually ended up taking a buy on this one. This is, to be honest, right now for today, this is going to end up being off of the demo account. So I want to see how this market actually moves up. If you do trade the NASDAQ 100, this may end up being a position to where you could look at being able to buy up to 11,601. I would pay attention a little bit more to the 1 hour and see if there's a counter trend line break to the upside. Currently, we do have that. What I ended up doing was I looked at this counter trend line break. I looked at this. I looked at all of these indecision candlesticks that ended up happening right here. Remember, once you have indecision candlesticks start to show up, then after that, you're going to start getting decision. Now, I think because the U.S. dollar is starting to look a little bit weaker, the decision will end up being towards the upside, and we should see a big push when it comes down to the upside. If that does happen, then that means that we should see this market start to push up at least up to 11,601. If that does happen, we're talking about from a points perspective, that will end up being right around 214 points. Now, you don't know what points are. Points are basically 1 point is equal to 10 pips. So we're talking about 214 points. You're talking about 2,140 pips of overall movement. Now, this market moves very fast. It wouldn't be surprising if the market starts to take a leap up to the upside if it continues to be able to do so. So I like being able to see that overall when it comes down to this pair. All right, now let's get into the U.S. based pairs. We said that the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar were the strongest pairs right now. So we're going to look at those first and see if see what's happening with those overall movements, and then be able to go from there. We said that we wanted the market to be able to give us a bounce up, and that's exactly what ended up happening for this overall movement. Since then, the market has pushed, and this is the 2 hour, so I get back to the daily. The market has pushed up 118 pips based off of what has happened from the daily. Based off of what ended up happening from the daily and falling down 285 pips from the beginning. 300 pips from the beginning, from this beginning move right here. 322 pips. So the market has already moved up 1/3 of that movement already. Now, once again, we're looking at being able to sell this. Okay, so please keep that in mind. The market moving up right here and hitting the 382 just tells us that we're not able to trade it to the upside if we didn't get into the scalp. If we didn't get into the scalp play right now. Okay, if we want to be safe, typically when you end up taking a trade, you want to trade it up to the 382. You're trading against the overall direction of highest probability, and right now the direction of highest probability is to the downside. So you did not get in at this particular point, then don't worry about it. You're just trying to get a high price, so you're looking to be able to sell, but you cannot miss the sell trade. And if we're looking at this overall pair, we don't want this pair to be able to go above. We don't want this pair to be able to go above the 73.40 area. If it goes above the 73.40 area, then that means that, quite frankly, this was a wasted move. Or not necessarily a wasted move. It just means that now the Australian dollar has has started and taken back its overall strength. So looking for a counter trend line break. When it comes down to this trade, if we could be able to get that, that'd be great. Looking for something like this. A lot of market to be able to push up. Once it gets up to a high point, then after that, look to be able to sell. I do expect 72.25 will probably end up being an area where the market will have a little bit of hesitation. If you look at that, that was the past support and resistance areas. I think it's probably going to blast through 71.51, and I think it will probably have a little bit of hesitation right around the 72 area. But either way, any type of high price, anything around the 7,200 area will be a very good price to be able to sell down to 6,600. That means that you have 600 pips to the downside that you can be able to get based off of this movement. So I'm not necessarily worried about the overall high price or the market pushing up right now. I'm really worried about being able to get a high price to be able to sell at this particular. So that's what it is when it comes down to the Australian dollar, United States dollar. Not a pair to be able to get into right now at this point. Once again, I missed it because I didn't have my automated system on. If I had my automated system, I probably could have got a few pips off of it. But overall, it didn't give you a retracement, so it's not necessarily in the greatest position as yet. Now, taking a look at what's going on with the New Zealand dollar. Once again, we just talked about indecision and decision candles. We have all of this decision candles right here. We have full bearish decision candles. We had an indecision candle right there, a fully indecision candle right here. And then after that, we see all of this bullish movement for a decision. The market has broken a counter trend line towards the upside. It is expected for this market to be able to It's expected for this market to be able to go back up to the 6,700 area. I'm expecting that this market is probably going to get up to right around the 6650 to 60, right around the 6,700 area for being able to trade this. Matter of fact, I'm going to end up making a pending sale. That's how confident I am when it comes down to being able to look at this right now. We're going to go through how to be able to make a pending sale when it comes down to this. It just means that I'm going to end up having my trade ready for when the market starts to push back up from here. Now, the question is, instead of making a pending sale, would you buy at this particular point? Me personally, it will only depend on what's the setup, and we can look at that from a 2-hour perspective. Let's see if we can get a setup. Currently, right now, if we look at the new fibs, you can see that this market has broken past the 382. With the market breaking past the 382, quite frankly, that would be necessarily the only trade that I would look for at this particular point. Since it has hit it at this point, I do expect that the market will retrace a little bit. From my swing trading account, I would not look at buying this. From my scalping trade account, I would want this market to be able to go down and then possibly give me an upside move again. Then maybe I can be able to get up there. So one of my accounts I am going to look at being able to buy. I'll let my automated system be able to find a good position. That means that I don't have to be in front of the computer being able to figure out where that position is. On my swing trading side, if we look at it, we can see that if this market goes up to the 6687 area, which is the 618, then the market will end up breaking the overall A. So we have to keep that in mind. Hopefully that does not happen. That means that if we do see that, we'll probably end up starting to see a crown movement towards this overall break. So that's a bad confluence to be able to think of. But anything above 6,700, I would look at being able to sell to the downside. I would be interested in being able to trade to the downside or based off of this overall move. And that will be the breakout, and that will be the retest of this move toward the upside. Now, what we could look at and kind of see is there any other position, is there any other area that we could see where the market could have some type of hesitation for it being able to fall that will keep it inside of this ABCD swing. And what I'm looking at is somewhere around here. We see that we have a lot of resistance right around the 6633 area. We can see that it's hit a few different times around this area where you've had a lot of support right here, right there. We've seen that it had it right there. Seen that we had it basically bounced off right here and it bounced off right there. And we've had a little bit of resistance toward that area. So anywhere around the 6650 area will probably end up being one of the better prices to be able to get in at this particular portion. Miss Glover, thank you for the like. Do appreciate it. And being able to go from there. So next thing that I'm looking for is that we see that the market is in the sell zone. With the market being in the sell zone, it just means that the market just popped up for its overall position. If we look at the extension for this move, the market just probably hit a D extension on this retracement. Yes, it did. Bam, there it is. That's the reason why it's overextended. Okay, the market hit a 382. So the scalping on this trade, when it comes down to the initial movement of this trade, is done. Quite frankly, I'm not looking at buying on this market for a swing trade. There's no reason for me to be able to do so. We're just looking to try to see if we can get a high price for this overall movement. Let's go to point of control and let's see if we can be able to find, let's see if we can get a better idea about where the market is going to end up going on this market and see if there's something from there. We zoom out and go to the 2-hour. Right. If we zoom out, I can almost argue, and I'm just looking at the 2-hour right now, and we'll break it back to the daily. I can tell you that right now we have not a lot of people that are going to end up trading in this area based off looking at the low profile. We should see that the market will pop up to 6630, 6639 again. What we kind of expected. If you look at it, we have high price volume right here, right around the 6637 area. That is the past support area that we were looking for. Then after that, if it does break past that point, then after that, the next area will be right around the 6650 area, which is right around the 200-day moving average. So we were right based off of the movement and based off of looking at it from an overall chart perspective. Taking a look at it from a bond perspective and looking at where trades are when it comes down to this particular point, we can see that there is another area where you should see a little bit of a retracement from there. Now, the next thing that I will end up paying attention to is if it ends up breaking that area. 6,700 is very heavily a strong area when it comes down to that overall movement. If it does break past that area, that will be something to be able to pay attention to. I don't think that it will stay to be that same type of movement, but we can see that there's a point of control based off of everything that's done happened since March of 2019, where the point of control is at 6720. So anything above 6,700 is a very good number for us being able to get in. We're looking at since March of this month, this is a point of control of where the market has bounced up to the upside. And this is where we were looking at being able to get out on our first trade based off the point of control the last time. So I think that we have a good range of where the market should be going to, and where we're looking at. I'm looking at being able to buy right around the 6,700 area. I may look at being able to take the place of trade at the 6,720 area if that does happen. But I'm more keen to saying that if the market gets up to 6,700, then I'm very interested in being able to trade. Sangria Sunshine, hey, how you doing? If you want to be able to see what we're doing live, all you have to do is just hop into our YouTube page, which is Trade with Travis, if you want to be able to see that. But thank you for hopping in. So that's where we are right there. Now, I'm going to place a pending sale. We're going to say 6,700 is the overall spot. My stop will have to be above the overall swing high, which is right around 6,800. So that's about 100 pips for the overall stop. If we want to be able to do that and be very safe with it. Now, we can be able to move our stop down a little bit more based off of this overall movement. But if you want to place it above all of the swing highs, then you can do that. Now, if you want to place it above the 2-hour swing high, then we can just place it above. Then all we have to do is just place it above 6,700 and be able to go from there. Remember, 6,724 is a spot where the market could go from there. So anything above probably the 6,750 area and the 6,750 area and above will probably end up being a good spot. I'm probably going to end up saying, probably going to be safe and probably say 6,770. If it gets up to that point and it starts pushing up, then it's going to end up being too extreme to be able to take a look at being able to find a position. But pending sale area, if I'm looking at an overall spot, I'm going to say 6,770 is my area of where my stop is going to be. So we're going to edit this real quick and be able to make sure that it's at 6,770, so we know where our stop loss is going to end up being. And once again, this is just a pending sale. So let's say if the market just explodes up tomorrow and we need to get into a position and we're not necessarily by the computer, when you place a pending sale in, what it allows you to be able to do is to it allows you to be able to get in the trade, know your limit of the trade before the market actually ends up, or without having to be in front of the computer to take the trade. So, anything above 6650, I end up keeping my eye on that. I have a private alert when it comes down to that. Anything to where it pops up to 6,700, I will look at being able to trade that. I do kind of expect that the market will possibly try to do that. Now, if it breaks the 2-hour A, then it's going to break the sequence of the movement. But we look at this past support turning into future resistance right around that 6680 area. It's probably going to end up being the position where the market is going to move anyway. So when it comes down to trading, you just go based off of what you see. Now, I'm not paying attention to the Fibonacci's. I'm paying attention to what price action is telling me. Now, let's place this in. So let's say if we're looking at being able to do that, we'll say our entry is at 6,700. Our stop loss in this case will end up being 77 pips. So what we end up doing is going to our trade ticket, or in this case, this is our new 5-star Forex Money Advisor. What it does is allows you to be able to understand how much money that you need to be able to use, or how much money you need to what's going to end up being your lot size, how much money you're willing to lose based off of trades, and be able to go from there. In this case, we got 73 pips that as our stop loss. Take profit value. If we're going to end up trading this long term, I'm going to end up trading this down to the daily position, which is going to end up being right around 66. I'm looking at being able to trade it down to 6,200. So if we look at that, for this overall move, it'd be very simple. 67 subtracted by 62 is 500 pips. So gonna end up saying about we're gonna end up saying 500 pips from there, and we end up placing that in. So 73 pips for 500. Obviously, that's a great risk reward. That's 1 to 6.5. If we end up making this one trade by itself, quite frankly, the overall gain that we can be able to make off of this overall account will end up being right around $3,000 based off of this movement. If it ends up hitting this, if we end up staying in this trade the whole time. Now I'm gonna have to edit a few of these things once it ends up getting to this point, but I know how much I know what the overall risk reward is gonna automatically be. I know how much. I know I'm gonna end up risking $500 if the market ends up popping up to this upside. It takes me in the trade. I know that my overall take profit will end up being $3,000 based off of that overall movement if it goes down to my position. Now, once we end up getting into that position, obviously that's where I add on positions, end up hopping in at, and being able to go from there. And basically what that means is, as long as the market is moving in your way, you can use other people's money to be able to trade while you're doing that, and trade off of that equity to be able to turn a single gain of profit gain of 34% into a profit gain of 134% for it being able to go in by adding on to the trade. Okay. If you do not know what I'm talking about, if you have not seen something like this, it's because this is proprietary, and this is something that we use for our masterclass that we give to our students, that allows them to be able to know exactly when to get in the trade, exactly when to get out of the trade, what's going to be the probability of success when taking the trade, and how can you be able to compound your trade, and what percentages would be the best position to be able to take it while being able to compound your money, and making sure that your margin will stay intact by being able to do that. You get all of this in one when it comes down to it. And a little bit more down the line, you're gonna end up, it's gonna tell you what type of trade that you should take based off of where the market actually is, based off of what you're actually seeing. So a lot of good stuff with being able to do that. So that's gonna end up being my pending sale. I'm gonna end up placing that in. Take profit is gonna be 6,200. And that's my time for today as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and place this in. And then after that, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Once again, I'm not looking at buying this market because the market has already hit the 382 for the retracement. So I'm not necessarily interested in being able to get in from that spot. If you are interested in being able to get in, you do not have to listen to me when it comes down to saying what I'm going to end up doing. Obviously, it's your overall account. Be able to trade to the upside if you want to. The market still has upside movement. I still think that it will have upside movement. I'm just not going to trade it with my swing trading account. I'm gonna look at possibly getting it with my automated system, and then after that, being able to trade it to the upside with a scalper. For swing trading this, I'm not interested in swing trading this. And quite frankly, I'm not interested in being in front of the computer to be able to wait and see if there's a low price to be able to get in. I'm just going to turn my automated system on and then allow it to be able to do its work. So there goes my stop. My entry is expected to be at 6,700. And I'm going to end up turning that into magenta and place that in. That is my overall trading plan for this overall movement. Now, the market ends up getting into this position and places us in this position, and quite frankly, the market keeps on moving down from there, then obviously we have a good trade to be able to look at. And then after that, we let it kind of play out from there. But like always, if you like what we end up doing, please make sure that you like the Carter Cow trading business page. If you like that, please go to Trade with Travis and make sure that you end up dropping in a like, drop a comment, and send a message. I do appreciate that. Obviously, we've been doing that for a week now. We got a lot of videos out there for a week, but overall, going into the near future and everything else like that, would love to be able to push out more content. And the only way I can be able to do that is by getting your support, by being able to do that. For the people that are watching this video that was in our boot camp class. I do appreciate all of that. Chris, thanks for the like. I do appreciate that, man. And moving forward, we're just looking to see how this market is going to end up reacting to it. I expect that the market is going to push up. If we get that movement and it does happen, then I'm very excited to be able to see that movement. Once again, I do expect that the U.S. dollar is going to end up reigning supreme going into October because of presidential season. So we should see that that movement should happen to the downside, and depending on how fast, or depending on how slow it's going to end up taking. Obviously, if we have good equity management, we should be okay. Like always, plan your trade your plan. Make sure that you end up believing in yourself. If you do end up doing that, change will end up coming. Everyone, y'all end up having a good one. Take it easy.